to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. On today's headlines. A Thai soldier killed 2 people and wounded 1 other in a shooting at a military facility in Bangkok today. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. believes that his chief legal counsel, Juan Ponce Enrile, would not withdraw support from him the way he did with his father, former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in 1986. And President Marcos Jr. is also eyeing to provide rice allowance for government workers to help them cope with the rising cost of living, as well as generate more demand for rice. And later, we'll take a journey into the lush forests and rich wildlife within Mount Timpoong Hibokibok Natural Monument. First in our news, a Thai soldier killed 2 people and wounded 1 other in a shooting at a military facility in Bangkok today, according to police and army officials. Sergeant Major Yong Youth Mongkort Kim, a clerk at the Royal Thai Army War College, shot 3 other soldiers around 8:45 a.m., according to the military in a statement. Take a look. Now, the 59-year-old tried to flee the scene, but surrendered himself around 10 a.m., according to Deputy National Police spokesman Kisana Patanachorn, telling this to reporters, and he said the cause and motivation for the incident is still under investigation. In the aftermath of the shooting, police officers and soldiers guarded the gates of this facility, part of a large complex of military buildings in the north of the capital. The military statement named the victim as Sergeant Major Noparat Intan Suntorn and Sergeant Major Prakarn Sinsong. The third soldier is Sergeant Major Yongtun Panyawat, and he was taken to hospital for treatment, according to the statement. Police are still investigating the shooting, according to spokesman Kisana, with initial reports suggesting the weapon used was a 9mm pistol. While Thailand has high rates of gun ownership, mass shootings are extremely rare. But in the past year, there have been at least 2 other cases of shooting murders by serving soldiers, according to the Bangkok Post. And a fire broke out at the personal barracks of the General Headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines in Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City. Take a look. Fire investigators are now determining the exact cause of the fire. The blaze started at the compound of the AFP's Communications, Electronics and Information Systems Service around 5 p.m. A report from the BFP said the fire reached first alarm at 5:56 p.m. before it was declared under control at 6:36 p.m. AFP Public Affairs Office Chief Colonel Jory Baclor said only the personal barracks sustained damages. He also said the fire was swiftly extinguished before it spread into other military infrastructure. In today's other news, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. believes that his chief legal counsel, Juan Ponce Enrile, would not withdraw support from him the way he did with his father, the former President Ferdinand E. Marcos Sr. in 1986. In a TV interview with host Tony Gonzaga, the president recounted past conversations he had with Enrile, whom he calls Tito Johnny, and how they have reconciled. Let's listen in.
I don't see any reason for him to betray me. The times are just too different for us to be able to say that, you know, babalik siya sa ganun. And also, time of life na rin niya.
He's 98 years old.
He's 98 years old. So I guess he just wants to keep working, watching it from my side. Parang natural progression yung nabalik siya dito sa palasyo as the presidential legal advisor. And for me, it didn't seem to be an attack really on my father. Because also, I was privy to their conversations nung nandun siya sa krame. na akong may hawak ng telepono ng dad ko eh. So naririnig ko lahat ng usapan nila. So hindi ganoon talaga na hindi kayo papabagsakin namin, kayo hindi ganoon eh. It's like my uncle. I call him Tito Johnny. And I have called him that since I was a child. Since 1986, ilang beses na kami nag-uusap.
Mr. Enrile, most known for being martial law administrator, helped oust the older Marcos in 1986. From the beginning of the Marcos period in government, Mr. Enrile was one of the few that the former president trusted and was seen by many as his protege. For almost the entire period of martial law, Mr. Enrile served officially as the martial law administrator as he was in charge of all the armed forces services during that time. Furthermore, as early as former President Marcos' planning and preparation for the declaration of martial law, Mr. Enrile was also involved. In his memoir, Mr. Enrile recalls and narrates that as early as December 1969, the former President Marcos instructed him to study the 1935 Constitution, specifically the powers of the President as Commander-in-Chief. President Marcos then had said that he had already foreseen a rise in violence and chaos in the country. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. named Enrile as his chief legal counsel back in June. Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos Jr. is also eyeing to provide rice allowance for government workers to help them cope with the rising cost of living, as well as generate more demand for rice. Here's the president during a televised interview with Tony Gonzaga, which was aired last Tuesday. Again, let's listen in.
In fact, maybe I can say it now, I'm going to initiate in our, at least for the government workers, the rice allowance. Nagbibigay part of the sweldo, ang pagbayad is in rice. Para nakakatiyak tayo, everybody, every family will have rice. And this will be bought by the government, from the government, para makamura tayo, and the people do not have to buy it at the market price. Now, we don't want to put the rice producers out of business. On the contrary, what's going to happen is magkakaroon ng demand. Kasi bibili ng marami yung gobyerno eh. And then we'll talk to other corporations. Marami na naman dun sa malalaking korporasyon, meron na silang rice allowance eh. So we'll institutionalize it. So at the very least, meron tayong ganun. This is life and death, and the people are living very close to the subsistence level. And we have to pull ourselves out of that. They should not be at the subsistence level. They should not be spending 60, 70, 80% of their income on food. That's far, far, far too much. They have nothing left for anything else. They cannot send their children to school. They cannot pay for the electricity, the water, all of these things that they need to pay for. So that's really the scope of the problem. And that's the way I see it.
Ensuring food security is currently one of the top agendas of the government under the Marcos administration. President Marcos Jr. was also asked why he has not yet appointed a health secretary 75 days into his presidency. Here's what he had to say.
We have to remember that the DOH is not about COVID alone. It's about public health in general. So that's another side of it, and it's as important as COVID is. We have the dengue rates are climbing. We have the second highest HIV rate of infection in the world. TB is coming back. These are things that we have to attend to.
Monkeypox.
Well, yung monkeypox, alam mo, as best as I can determine, it's still, we're okay. We had one case, gumaling na umuwi na. We talked yesterday with some of the health department. We talked about acquisition already of the monkeypox vaccine. There are many other elements to the DOH. That's why until we finalize the structure of what we just have to keep it functioning and finalize the structure. And then, actually, I'm hoping and I'm thinking that the person who is helping us, the consultants from there, the consultants that are helping us, putting the new structure of the DOH together, diyan manggagaling yung ating bagong secretary.
The president also reiterated his stance not to rejoin the International Criminal Court, maintaining that the Philippines justice system is working. Quizzed if there is a possibility for him to reconsider rejoining the ICC, the president said there is no need for the ICC to control the country. Let's listen in.
I don't see any reason why we should. The ICC, very simply, is supposed to take action when a country no longer has a functioning judiciary, has no longer some the organs of states, the police, etc. And that condition does not exist in the Philippines. So I do not see what role ICC is going to play here in the Philippines. Think about it. We will allow them to come in and investigate and then tell us who to arrest. Mag-imbestiga sila rito. Tutulungan natin sila mag-imbestiga. Oh, bakit pagkatapos ng investigasyon, sasabihin, ikulong ninyo si ganito, ikulong ninyo si ganyan. The alleged crimes were all committed in the Philippines. They were all committed by Filipinos. Why will we need a foreigner to tell us how to deal with it? I do not see why it's a violation of human rights. It is a question of jurisdiction and sovereignty. Mm-hmm. The accusations are crimes against human rights, but nonetheless, the method by which we apply and enforce that law is what is really in question when we join or not join the ICC.
In tonight's other news, hundreds of protesters joined a demonstration in the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, to reject the government's decision to raise fuel prices. Let's listen in again.
BBM dinaikkan untuk menyiksa dan menekan rakyat, merasa penderita Pak. Bapak-bapak polisi, terima kasih sudah hadir pada sore hari ini. Baretnya masih bersih Pak. Kawan semua.
The protests have lasted for several days and spread across different cities in the archipelago. The Financial Times reported on Monday that Indonesian President Joko Widodo is now considering joining India and China in buying Russian oil to offset increasing pressure of rising energy costs. President Joko Widodo raised subsidized fuel prices by 30% earlier this month to rein in a spiraling energy subsidy budget, sparking protests by workers and students across the country. According to Channel News Asia, the fuel price hike is set to accelerate inflation, which has already reached its highest since 2015 due to rising food prices. In other news, crowds are gathering in droves in London to pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II. As her coffin arrived at the Buckingham Palace, the Queen's body will be borne on a horse-drawn gun carriage from her Buckingham Palace home to Westminster Hall, where she will remain for 4 days until her funeral next week. Take a look.
I wanted to come and pay my respects, but I didn't think I haven't got the strength to come tomorrow or for the funeral. So I came up today. I'm very glad I did. She's been a wonderful monarch and she deserves a good send-off. So I'm very pleased I came.
Even as a child, I came up to wave at her, and I've been up to all the jubilees, and she's just an amazing woman who who I really look up to. Just such humility, such dedication to service, such faith, and just an incredible figurehead, I think.
Very sad, but contented that she's now come home. She's come home in the rain, in tears, and hopefully she'll leave on Monday in the sun.
The news continues. There on ASEAN in Focus. We'll be back. Welcome back. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen officially opened the 54th ASEAN Economic Ministers Meeting, or AEM, and related meetings in Siem Reap province of northwestern Cambodia. The Prime Minister said that while the world is facing many obstacles in development, ASEAN should continue attaching greater importance in maintaining the trading system on the basis of rule of law, globalization principle, multilateralism mechanism, as well as liberalization of trade and investment, anti-protectionism, fostering resilience of regional and global supply chains, connectivity and logistics, digital economy, environmental protection, clean energy, sustainable development, and food security, while continuing the fight against the COVID pandemic, as well as enhance efforts in regional and global recovery. He also said that ASEAN should strategically focus on the rapid development of digital economy, strengthening ASEAN resilience against disasters and pandemic. He also said ASEAN should maximize the benefits of RCEP and existing ASEAN Plus One agreements. He said on RCEP, member states should make the utmost effort in implementing commitments and continue the negotiations in opening up the markets, aimed to attract big economies to participate in the agreement. And space and energy security are among the emerging areas of cooperation identified in the recent Philippine-Japan Vice Ministerial Strategic Dialogue, or VMSD. The meeting held in Manila on September 7 was led by Japan Ministry of Foreign Affairs Senior Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs Shigeo Yamada and Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Maria Teresa Lazaro, who both reaffirmed commitment to further deepen the two nations' political and security coordination. In June 2021, Tokyo and Manila signed a memorandum of cooperation that would provide a framework for possible partnerships in satellite development and promotion of the space industry. On energy, no less than Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi in August 2022 expressed Tokyo's interest to increase engagements with Manila on transitioning to renewables. And Indonesia and Norway signed a deal to reward deforestation reduction months after the collapse of a similar $1 billion agreement that was part of a UN-backed global initiative criticized for its ineffectiveness. Protecting trees is key to meeting climate goals, but environmentalists blame Indonesia, home to the world's third largest rainforest area, for a deforestation free-for-all by allowing companies to clear land for plantations. Under the new agreement, Norway will send Jakarta an initial $56 million payment for its deforestation reduction in the year 2016 to 2017, according to the Norwegian minister. It'll then pay Indonesia for years of reductions that followed after, verifying the drops in deforestation, meaning it could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars to Jakarta. Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative will pay the installments directly to Indonesia's Environment Fund. Norway hasn't specified the total amount it has allotted for the partnership. Indonesia has an ambitious goal to reach a net carbon sink in its forestry sector, storing more carbon than it releases into the atmosphere by 2030, but its vast forests are still shrinking. The country's tree cover has decreased by 18% since 2000, a loss that accounts for 6.5% of the global total since then, according to Global Forest Watch. The Philippines and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have signed an agreement lifting the ban on the deployment of Filipino workers to the Middle Eastern countries starting November 7. Take a look.
Tangible proof na ayaw na nila mangyari uli ito is yung mismong Saudi government na ang kukuha ng insurance for our construction workers and other skilled workers. So, yung unpaid wages, sasagutin ng Saudi government.
Now, as as we heard earlier, the Philippines and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia also agreed to revise the standard employment contract of OFWs to reflect all guarantees under the Saudi labor reform initiatives, including insurance for unpaid wages, timely release of salaries through electronic payments, and a pre-termination clause. They will also convene regular joint committee meetings to ensure full compliance with the agreements and address challenges in implementing these labor reforms. Both countries will also sign a memorandum of understanding on combating trafficking in persons, investigating and prosecuting offenders, and providing support to OFW victims of trafficking. The Saudi Labor Ministry also committed to studying a proposal to reduce the duration of the employment contract of domestic workers to 1 year, with the possibility of extension for another year, provided both parties agreed. And finally, in our news, we'll take a journey to the lush forests and rich wildlife within Mounts Tipoong Hibokibok Natural Monument, a key biodiversity area spanning 2,203 hectares in central and western Camiguin in northern Mindanao. Take a look. And that is the latest news here on ASEAN in Focus. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay safe, stay in the news, because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.